Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagawatam Canto 3, The Status Quo, Chapter 1, Questions by Vidura, verse 42. So, Harir Martya Vidambai Nena. Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Drisho Nirnam Kalayato Vidatu Druso Nirnam Kalayato Vidatu Nanyo Palaksha Padavim Prasadak Dutch Nanyo Pralaksha Padavim Prasadach Charami Pasyan Gata Vishmayo Tra Charami Pasyan Gata Vishmayotra Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Drisho Nirnam Kalayato Vidatu Nanyo Palaksha Paravim Prasadach Charami Pashyan Gata Vishmayotra Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Trisho Nirnam Chalayato Vidatu Manyo Palaksha Paravim Prasadach Charami Pashyan Gata Vishmayotra Others? Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Driso Nirnam Chalayato Vidatu Nanyo Palaksha Varim Vim Prasadach Charami Pasyan Gata Vishmayotra Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Trisho Nirnam Chalayato Vidatu Nanya Palaksha Varavim Pradat Charami Pasyan Gata Vismayotra Soham Harir Matya Vidambanena Junam Chalayato Vidatu Nanoya Palaksha Vadim Prasadach Charami Pasyan Gato Vismayotra Sa'aham Therefore I Hari of the personality of Godhead Martya in this mortal world Vidambanena without being recognized Drisha on sight Nrinam of the people in general chalayata, bewildering, vidatu, in order to do it, na, not, anya, other, upalaksha, seen by others, padavim, glories, prashadat, by the grace of, charami, do travel, pashan, by seeing, gata vishmaya, vismaya, I messed that one over and over, without doubt, atra, in this matter. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. I am not astonished. This is Vidura, and he's speaking. I am not astonished at this, having traveled over the world without being seen by others. The activities of the personality of Godhead, which are like those of a man in this mortal world, are bewildering to others. But I know of His greatness by His grace, and thus I am happy in all respects. Purport. Although he was the brother of Dhritarashtra, Vidura was completely different. By the grace of Lord Krishna, he was not foolish like his brother, and thus his brother's association could not influence him. Dhritarashtra and his materialistic sons wanted to falsely lord it over the world by dint of their own strength. The Lord encouraged them in this, and thus they became more and more bewildered. But Vidura wanted to achieve sincere devotional service of the Lord and therefore became a soul absolutely surrendered to the absolute personality of Godhead. He could realize this in the progress of his pilgrim's journey, and thus he was freed from all doubts. He was not at all sorry to be bereft of his hearth and home, because he now had experienced that dependence on the mercy of the Lord is a greater freedom than so-called freedom at home. A person should not be in the renounced order of life unless he is firmly convinced of being protected by the Lord. This stage of life is explained in Bhagavad Gita as abhayam sattva samshuddhihi. Every living being, entity, is factually completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord, but unless one is in the pure state of existence, he cannot be established in this position. This stage of dependence is called sattva samshuddhi, or purification of one's existence. The result of such purification is exhibited in fearlessness. A devotee of the Lord who is called Narayanapada is never afraid of anything because he is always aware of the fact that the Lord protects him in all circumstances. With this conviction, Vidura traveled alone, and he was not seen or recognized by any friend or foe. Thus he enjoyed freedom of life without obligation of many duties of the world. When Lord Sri Krishna was personally present in the mortal world in his eternal blissful form of Shyamasundar, those who were not pure devotees of the Lord could not recognize him or know his glories. Avajananti mam mudha manusim tanum asritam. He is always bewildering to the non-devotees, but he is always seen by the devotees by dint of their pure devotional service to him. Vishwanath Chakravarti, he actually expanded on this. He brought in the blessings of the Lord specifically. What he explained was that he understood that the fearlessness of Vidura, but he also understood that Vidura would miss him and feel intense separation from him. So he gave him a benediction, and Vishwanath Chakravarti speaks of this specifically. He gave him the benediction that wherever you go, wherever you wander, it doesn't matter where you are, I will be present with you in all places. But this benediction was extended only for the duration of Krishna's stay here on earth. And at the time of his disappearance, also that boon also disappeared. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, he elaborates on it more, gives more information, and it makes you understand this is why he was saying, you know, it doesn't bother me where I go. It's not a problem. And no one really understood it. It was like he was invisible. His real blessings were completely invisible. People didn't even recognize how great Vidura was. So Vishwanath Chakravarti said, but his violence toward me did not harm me. In other words, he's talking about, Vidura is talking about how Duryodhana had cast him out. Rather, it was beneficial for me. By the Lord's mercy, I have seen the feet of the Lord who hides from the intellectual faculties, drisha, of materialistic men by cheating persons such as Dhritarashtra. The Lord, affectionate to his devotee, is astonishing in this way. Free from doubt, I wandered to all the holy places, atra, unrecognized by others, since I do not reveal this secret about the Lord to anyone. The Lord, revealing himself to Vidura, who was drowning in an ocean of grief when he was driven out of the palace by Duryodhana, spoke to him, O Vidura, my great devotee, you are lamenting because of separation from me. Having given my promise to you now, you will see me wherever you travel, since I will go there before you. This is the blessing of the Lord. Even after the death of Duryodhana, when Yudhisthira gains the kingdom, Vidura was without effort able to see the Lord with great bliss, whereas the others, great effort was needed to see the Lord. You can see how difficult we can pray and pray and pray, but we may not be like having the epiphany, those wonderful realizations and darshans of the Supreme Lord. But Vidura was so easily blessed with this. He was longing, that intense grief, that intense lolium, that desire to see Krishna, purchase Krishna. He said, you're longing to see me, you miss me so much, and for that reason I will stay with you, and I will be with you, and wherever you are, no matter what. This is such a blessing, such a blessing. However, Vishwanath Chakravarti goes on to elaborate, with the Lord's final disappearance, he would be withdrawn from the vision of Vidura. Therefore, until he met Uddhava, he was again disturbed because he could not see the Lord. So this Vipralambha Bhav comes in, having had the benediction of being able to see Krishna, just as so many devotees would have darshan of Krishna, and then Krishna would withdraw that. And in the withdrawing, the longing, the needing to see Krishna, where is Krishna, where is Krishna, I need to be with Krishna, that Vipralambha Bhav gets amplified. So remembering other great personalities who suffered separation from Krishna, in the very beginning, Devaki and Vasudeva, they immediately after giving birth had to give up the Lord's association. Can you imagine spending so many years in jail based on a prophecy that the Lord would come, and they they have their child finally, and what happens? Right away, they have to take the child somewhere else and suffer separation from Krishna. Can you imagine the austerity and the surrender of that couple? I mean, to me, it's like you finally get the association of Krishna, and now he's leaving. And we read earlier in Bhagavat, when the Lord disappeared, Mother Bhumi, there was the Bhumi Geet section where Mother Bhumi, the earth was grieving. I no longer feel the footprints on my surface. I can hardly bear your separation. So even Mother Earth was grieving the loss of Krishna. She could feel the lack of his presence. And Maharaj Parikshit, he saw Krishna in the womb. He was the son of Abhimanyu, and having the darshan of Krishna in the womb of his mother Uttara, he searched his whole life for Krishna. A moment's association. just like that. And that's it. Your life is spent searching, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? How can I get the satsang of devotees of Krishna? And in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:15, the Pandavas, in the chapter was the Pandavas retire timely, Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna, the celebrated friend of Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feelings of separation from Krishna. When Krishna left, he mourned. He said, all of my ability to be a major warrior, to do anything, was completely and totally 100% empowered by Krishna. I have nothing. And I was reading a little bit about his bow, because he had so many weapons that were given. And his bow had been given by, it had a very interesting history created by Lord Brahma, and was given to him by Varuna. And it came time where he had to give the bow back. There's a history of who had the bow for certain periods of time, but that Gandiva was a completely invincible bow, gifted for the purpose of serving Krishna. And Queen Kunti, she prayed, I wish that all the calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. She would prefer to suffer intensely and have Krishna close than be situated as a king or a queen in such opulence and comfortable palatial surroundings. That was nothing compared to being with Krishna. She would rather suffer great calamities and be in Krishna's association. When I think about the greatness of these devotees, and I think, what am I prepared to do to have Krishna's darshan? What am I prepared to suffer? Am I prepared to suffer like Srimati Radharani, who said, when Narada Muni said, Krishna has a headache and the cure is the foot dust of a devotee. And she was the only one who said, immediately take that foot dust right away, immediately. Certainly I'm his devotee, take it. And Narada Muni said, you're going to go to hell. She said, I don't mind. Krishna has a headache. Hurry. Are we prepared? And when Prabhupada was asked, where will he go next to preach this Krishna consciousness? He said, Patala Loka. I balked because I had been praying, please, I want to take birth where Prabhupada's pastimes are taking place. And then when I heard that it was Patala, I went, oh no. I got very frightened because I'm a big enjoyer. And I thought, I'm not sure if I can sacrifice that much. What are we prepared to give to get Krishna's mercy? And it's not what we're giving, it's what we're holding back. So, O Lord of love, this is in the Gopi Geet. O Lord of love, this is the second text. In beauty, your glance excels the whirl of the finest, most perfectly formed lotuses within the autumn pond. O bestower of benedictions, you are killing the maidservants who have given themselves to you freely without any price. Isn't this murder? The gopis are longing for Krishna because it appears that he has disappeared and gone to Dwarka. Are we ready to be loved by Krishna? And then, as it says in the final Shikshashtakam prayer, that even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me brokenhearted by not being present before me, still he is my Lord, unconditionally. Are we really prepared? We're practicing, we're speaking it, we're preparing our life in this way. But you see the great saints and what sacrifice they've made to serve Krishna in some way, like give birth to Krishna, live in jail for so long. My goodness, when I feel sorry for myself, I immediately think of these personalities and I just go, I'm an ant, I'm a flea. I have no patience, no tolerance, no tatiksha. How am I suffering for Krishna? I'm not. I want Krishna. And am I willing to pay the price? This is the thing. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. I know we're ending early because I wanted very much to read Adi Lila, 4th chapter, and that is the confidential reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, since we're nearing Gaur Purnima and the excitement is swelling. We're getting excited about receiving, swooning with the golden moon, swooning to the golden moon, being ecstatic and able to glorify Lord Chaitanya. So who better than Krishnadas Kaviraj? I mean, I'm like the croaking of a frog. Anything I have to say is like ribbit, ribbit. It's not that exciting, but Krishnadas Kaviraj and the way Srila Prabhupada translates, he speaks volumes. So in Adi Lila chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, in this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj has stressed that Lord Chaitanya appeared for three principal purposes of his own. The first purpose was to relish the position of Srimati Radharani, who is the prime reciprocator of transcendental love of Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of transcendental loving transactions with Srimati Radharani. The subject of those loving transactions is the Lord himself, and Radharani is the object. Thus the subject, the Lord, wanted to relish the loving mellows in the position of the object, Radharani. The second reason for his appearance was to understand the transcendental mellow of himself. Lord Krishna is all sweetness. Radharani's attraction for Krishna is sublime, and to experience that attraction and understand the transcendental sweetness of himself, he accepted the mentality of Radharani. The third reason that Lord Chaitanya appeared was to enjoy the bliss tasted by Radharani. The Lord thought that undoubtedly Radharani enjoyed his company, and he enjoyed the company of Radharani. But the exchange of transcendental mellow was between the spiritual couple was more pleasing to Srimati Radharani than to Sri Krishna. Radharani felt more transcendental pleasure in the company of Krishna than he could understand without taking her position. But for Sri Krishna to enjoy in the position of Srimati Radharani was impossible, because that position was completely foreign to him. Krishna is the transcendental male, and Radharani is the transcendental female. Therefore, to know the transcendental pleasure of loving Krishna, Lord Krishna himself appeared as Lord Chaitanya, accepting the emotions and bodily luster of Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya appeared in order to fulfill these confidential desires and also to preach the special significance of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and to answer the call of Advaita Prabhu. These were secondary reasons. Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami was a principal figure amongst Lord Chaitanya's confidential devotees. The records of his diary have revealed these confidential purposes of the Lord. These revelations have been confirmed by the statements of Srila Rupa Goswami in his various prayers and poems. This chapter also specifically describes the difference between lust and love. The transactions of Krishna and Radha are completely different from material lust. Therefore, the author has very clearly distinguished between them. Text 1. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a foolish child can fully describe the real nature of Lord Krishna, the enjoyer of the pastimes of Raj, according to the vision of the revealed scriptures. Text 2. All glorious to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glorious to Lord Nityananda, all glorious to Sri Advaitacharya, and all glorious to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Text 3. I have described the meaning of the 4th verse. Now, O devotees, kindly hear the explanation of the 5th verse. Just to explain the original verse, I shall now first suggest its meaning. I have given the essential meaning of the 4th verse. This incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descends to propagate the chanting of the holy name and spread love of God. Although this is true, this is but the external reason for the Lord's incarnation. Please hear one other reason, the confidential reason for the Lord's appearance. The scripture proclaimed that Lord Krishna previously descended to take away the burden of the earth. To take away this burden, however, is not the work of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The maintainer, Lord Vishnu, is the one who protects this universe. Jai Panchatattva. Is this not on? It's the second button over. Okay. But the time to lift the burden of this world mixed with the time for Lord Krishna's incarnation. The time to lift the burden of this world mixed with the time for Lord Krishna's incarnation. When the complete Supreme Personality of Godhead descends, all other incarnations of the Lord meet together within him. Lord Narayan, the 4 primary expansions, Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha, Matsya, and other Lila incarnations, the Yuga avatars, the Manva avatars, the incarnations, and as many other incarnations as there are, all descend in the body of Lord Krishna. In this way, the complete Supreme Godhead, Lord Krishna himself, appears. At that time, therefore, Lord Vishnu is present in the body of Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna kills the demons through him. Thus, the killing of the demons is but secondary work. I shall now speak of the main reason for the Lord's incarnation. The Lord's desire to appear was born from 2 reasons. The Lord wanted to taste the sweet essence of the mellows of love of God, and he wanted to propagate devotional service in the world on the platform of spontaneous attraction. Thus he is known as supremely jubilant and as the most merciful of all. O Lord Krishna thought all the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love, weakened by that sense of majesty, does not satisfy me. Text 18. This particular verse here, this text 17, is it's a verse that's repeated several times in Caitanya Charitamrita, and it's translated a little differently each time, but I'm going to read it over because it's one of my favorite verses. All the universe is filled with the conception of my majesty, but love, weakened by that sense of majesty, does not satisfy me. If one regards me as the Supreme Lord and himself as a subordinate, I do not become subservient to his love, nor can it control me. In whatever transcendental mellow my devotee worships me, I reciprocate with him. That is my natural behavior. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O Partha. If one cherishes pure love, loving devotion to me, thinking of me as his son, his friend, or his beloved, regarding himself as great and considering me his equal or inferior, I become subordinate to him. Devotional service rendered to me by the living being revives their eternal life. Oh, my dear damsels abroad, your affection for me is your good fortune, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, "What kind of big man are you? You are and I are equal." If my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. Taking these pure devotees with me, I shall descend and sport in various wonderful ways unknown even in Vaikuntha. I shall broadcast such pastimes by which I am amazed. The influence of Yogamaya will inspire the gopis with the sentiment that I am their paramour. Neither the gopis nor I shall notice this, for our minds will always be entranced by one another's beauty and qualities. Pure attachment will unite us even at the expense of moral and religious duties, dharma. Destiny will sometimes bring us together and sometimes separate us. I shall taste the essence of all these rasas. In this way, I shall favor all the devotees. Then by hearing about the pure love of the residents of Raj, devotees will worship me on the path of spontaneous love, abandoning all rituals of religiosity and fruitive activity. Krishna manifests his eternal human-like form and performs his pastimes to show mercy to his devotees. Having heard such pastimes, one should engage in service to him. Here, the use of the verb bhavet, which is the imperative mood, tells us this certainly must be done. Non-compliance would be abandonment of duty. Just as these desires are the fundamental reasons for Krishna's appearance, whereas destroying the demons is only an incidental necessity, so for Sri Krishna Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, promulgating the Dharma of the age is incidental. When the Lord desired to appear for another reason, the time for promulgating the religion of the age also arose. Thus, with two intentions, the Lord appeared with his devotees and tasted the nectar of praying with the congregational chanting of the holy name. Thus he spread kirtan even among the untouchables. He wove a wreath of the holy name and prema with which he garlanded the entire material world. Such poetry. In this way, assuming the sentiment of a devotee, he preached devotional service while practicing it himself. 4 kinds of devotees are the receptacles of the 4 kinds of mellows in love of God, namely servitude, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. Each kind of devotee feels that his sentiment is the most excellent, and thus in that mood he tastes great happiness with Lord Krishna. But if we compare the sentiments in an impartial mood, we find that the conjugal sentiment is superior to all others in sweetness. Increasing love is experienced in various tastes, one above another, but that love which has the highest taste in the gradual succession of desire manifests itself in the form of conjugal love. Therefore, I call it Madhurya Ras. It has 2 further divisions, namely wedded and unwedded love. There is a great increase of mellow in the unwedded conjugal mood. Such love is found nowhere but in Braj. This mood is unbounded in the damsels of Braj, but among them it finds its perfection in Sri Radha. Her pure, mature love surpasses all that of all others. Her love is the cause of Lord Krishna's tasting the sweetness of the conjugal relationship. Therefore, Lord Gauranga, who is Sri Hari himself, accepted the sentiments of Radha and thus fulfilled his own desires. Lord Chaitanya is the shelter of the demigods, the goal of the Upanishads, the be-all and end-all of the great sages. the beautiful shelter of his devotees, and the essence of the love of the lotus-eyed gopis. Will he again be the object of my vision? Lord Krishna desired to taste the limited nectarian mellows of the love of one of his multitude of loving damsels, Sri Radha, and so he has assumed the form of Lord Chaitanya. He has tasted that love while hiding his own dark complexion with her effulgent yellow color. May that Lord Chaitanya confer upon us his grace. To accept ecstatic love is the main reason he appeared and reestablished the religious system for this age. I shall now explain that reason. Everyone, please listen. Having first given hints about the verse describing the principal reasons why the Lord appeared, now I shall manifest its full meaning. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal, pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they are separated. They separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental entities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow before him, who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus they enjoyed each other, tasting the mellows of love. Now, to enjoy rasa, they have appeared in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I shall first delineate the position of Radha and Krishna. From that description, the glory of Lord Chaitanya will be known. Srimati Radharani is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Ladini. That Ladini energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. Lord Krishna's body is eternal, Sat, full of knowledge, Chit, and full of bliss, Ananda. His one spiritual energy manifests three forms. Ladini is his aspect of bliss, Sandini of eternal existence, and Samvit of cognitions, which is also accepted as knowledge. O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes, Ladini, Sandini, and Samvit, exist in you as one spiritual energy, but the material modes which causes happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualifications. The essential portion of the Sandini potency is Shuddha Sattva. Lord Krishna's existence rests upon it. Krishna's mother, father, abode, house, bedding, seats, and so on are all transformations of Shuddha Sattva. The conditions of pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva, is in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead is revealed without any covering, is called Vasudeva. In that pure state, the Supreme Godhead, who is beyond the material senses and who is known as Vasudeva, is perceived by my mind. The essence of the Samvit potency is knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. All other kinds of knowledge, such as the knowledge of Brahman, are its components. The essence of the Ladini potency is love of God. The essence of love of God is emotion, bhav, and the ultimate development of emotion is mahabhav. Sri Radha Thakurani is the embodiment of mahabhav. She is the repository of all good qualities, the crest jewel among all the loving consorts of Lord Krishna. Of these two gopis, Radharani and Chandravali, Srimati Radharani is superior in all respects. She is the embodiment of Mahabhav, and she surpasses all in good qualities. Her mind, senses, and body are steeped in love for Krishna. She is Krishna's own energy, and she helps him in his pastimes. So we're right at the 8:30 point. Are there any questions or comments? We'll continue on tomorrow. There's a lot more to read on this chapter. It's chapter 4. It's the confidential reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Any questions or comments?
Was that literal when Srila Prabhupada said he would go to Kalika?
I don't know, but it.
There's one I heard that one time Bodhi asked him to come back even to Earth, and he was like, "Please don't ask me to do that. Please don't ask me to come back."
Well, I know that the spiritual master, he agrees to reclaim us. And we're, it's like if you think about Krishna, he goes with us in our wanderings, even into a dog body as super soul. So the spiritual master has agreed that he will reclaim us no matter where we go. So again, the spiritual master would implore us, please don't make me have to go someplace really yucky to get you, because it's possible that we might glide down. But the spiritual master has so much mercy, he really understands what it means. And this human life, Prabhupada explains, it's like a luxury liner to cross over an ocean. It's a very expert piece of equipment by which, if we devote this expert, our human life to know Krishna, then we can make a success of it. So he's imploring us, he's educating us, and he's inspiring us to not glide anywhere else, to come along with him and on this path of devotional service. So I don't know I can't answer you as far as a literal translation of that. I think the purport is, let's go. Let's go back to Godhead with Prabhupada and not wander and, linger here in this material world any longer than we have to. Now, I think that might be the instruction he's trying to enlighten us with. Is that okay? Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes?
I was just saying,
Daniel.
The sadhu-sangha part of the whole thing, this message. But if the Dham, without simply people without Krishna Dharana, it would be different because the sadhus and all the associations like the jewels and the Dham, so that's kind of like I was looking at that.
It was really interesting too. Yesterday in my studies, there was one little bit where I was reading about Yudhisthira, and after having won the war, there was a period where he was lamenting. I mean, his consciousness was extremely, he was somewhat devastated, having killed all of his family members and having everyone be dead. And he wasn't really in this kind of like, wow, yes, now I get to rule this kingdom. He wasn't feeling it. He was much more in lamentation. And I sometimes because I had experience too where I was speaking with a devotee, a wonderful, wonderful devotee yesterday also, that was telling me about ways in which they had been hurt in Krishna consciousness by political machinery and things along those lines. And I was remembering the temple president in Vrindavan, and he's been the longest standing temple president now that we've had, Panchagoda. And through the course of his tenure there's been one coup after another coup after another coup after another, like people trying to take him down. And how, when you're in a position of authority, how that happens. And there's a saying, we will fall, and there are places that, but it's not how long that we've fallen or we've tripped, and it's how long it takes us to get up and get over it. And even Maharaj Yudhisthira, who had the personal association of Lord Krishna, had this period of intense grief. I mean, they thought they wanted to get exonerated from Lord Shiva even. That was part of what they were going through. And you know, when I heard about that, and the advice that he got was that what you need to do is create a big event, a wonderful event, celebrating a new regime. It's like, you know, they'll put a big banner up, they'll say under new management, you know, and they'll have a grand opening to kick something off. So he was advised to do something, to have a Rajasuya event, and, you know, invite all the neighboring, you know, leaders, and create and start to make new memories, because he was stuck in the devastating, he was replaying all these devastating traumas. And just like even yesterday, I came to know that Tulsi, she counsels people in trauma, you know, people who have undergone trauma. And even the Pandavas, who were great personal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, went through trauma. And the devotees, we sometimes go through trauma in service of Krishna. And it's our duty, you were saying, as satsangis, you know, to support us in a healing process so that we can joyfully serve. It's like jewels, polishing up a jewel that's fallen into the mud. And if we can help one another, because it's not if we're going to fall down or be regretful, it's when. Because we're little sparks of the fire that when we get a little separated and we get a little bit forgetful of Krishna, we can be in a sense of regret. So again, satsang means to help each other shine, to help each other remember Krishna. Even the gopis who were scratching their toenails in the dirt think, this Krishna, he's so rough. But they were really intensely Krishna conscious. They would talk about Krishna, and sometimes in the pejorative. It wasn't like, oh, yes, he's wonderful. But they would always end up that way because, yes, they were so attached to him that even if they were angry, and it says in the Nectar of Devotion, in the Bhakti Rasamrita, that the bhav of anger is laced within all the bhavs. It's there. So we have to get comfortable with even the negativity in relationship to Krishna. We have to not languish in it or not let it overcome us, but utilize it for helping others too, so that we can all stay together and shine and glorify Krishna. Be real jewels, like you were saying. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Anybody else? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.